Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm so glad you're here this morning. We got a great show lined up. A lot of information you're going to learn today from our guests. But first, let's do our weather, brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77. Looking for a high today of 60, low 44. And the water temperature has gone up 2 degrees, folks. It's up to 57 degrees. That's a 4-degree jump in about a 2.5 weeks there, but 2 degrees in the last couple of days. Our river reading is brought to us by Sandhill Seafood. The Apalachicola Bluntstown is really going up now. It's shooting up there today. It's at a 5.2, but it's going to get on up there. Next couple of days, it's going to be rising. So be aware if you're fishing the Apalachicola River system. I'm giving you Bluntstown reading, but it's going to be rising next couple of days. It's Choctawhatchee. Caryville, on the other hand, it's bumped up last night, and it's peaking out this morning. It's at a 5.7. It's going to start dropping out later on today. So you have a falling river now next couple of days there on the Choctawhatchee. So I know you old timers and all that, you all go by that river rising and falling. So we stay on top of that every day just for you. All right. Also, and that's brought to us by Sandhill Seafood up on 77. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. We have a low tide this morning at 7:01 and a high tide at 9:13 tonight. And our wind direction is swapping around. Yesterday, really strong out of north-northwest. Today, it's coming out of southeast at about 5 to 10. Let's take our break and get back with our guest. Welcome back, folks, and welcome to a familiar face here in the Florida Panhandle on Panhandle Outdoors, Drew Benton.
How you doing, Coach?
Good morning, Drew. I've known Drew since he was about knee-high to grasshopper, or the Benton family. They're all outdoors and all. But Drew, we're glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, Coach. You know, I'm glad to come here and talk some hunting and fishing. Anytime I get the opportunity to come, I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're just tickled to have you. We got you in between seasons and all. And let's go ahead and establish this fact. A lot of folks don't know that, and I do, that you were a heck of a baseball player back in the day. And tell us a little bit of what was your batting average and all that real quick.
Oh, shoot, I don't remember.
We're not trying to impress the scouts.
What the average was, but yeah, I played baseball at Gulf Coast Community College here in Panama City, and you know, the fishing bug bit me pretty hard, and that's kind of might be the reason why I didn't continue on, but I wouldn't trade it.
I remember you batted around 400 for the season. I remember that. But anyway, so you've always had the bug, and you have made a career out of the outdoors.
Yeah, you know, I've always heard if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and that's kind of the way I've looked at it and the path I've chosen, and I definitely enjoy it. So I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. Well,
I go to follow you on that Drew Benton fishing page, and I just get a kick. It puts a smile on my face every time I see one of those pictures of your bass and all, because I know how much you love it. And you were BASS, and tell us a little bit about this past season.
Yeah, you know, in 2016, I won Rookie of the Year again. I won it in 2013 with FLW Tour, and I also qualified for my first Classic this year. So I fished my first Bassmaster Classic. We weighed in at a Major League Baseball field. It was huge for me. I mean, wow. It came full circle this year, and I kind of got the feeling that I'm, meant to be there. So yeah. It's definitely come full circle.
That had to give you some goosebumps though at that Major League field.
It did. You know, I even told them on stage, for a lot of years I thought I might be playing on a Major League Baseball field.
Never thought they'd weigh.
Yeah, be weighing in my first Classic. So that was great.
That is so cool. So you had a good season this past season.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good season as far as, I made some checks and, paid the bills and everything, but I didn't qualify for the Classic. You can't stumble. Yeah. I had 3 events where I stumbled, way down. And points-wise, it may not have been a good year, but, hey, I'm fishing for a living, so it's a great year.
Yeah, you are. Now, how many events do y'all have during the season? How many, roughly?
9 events, and then we have a postseason, and then the Classic. So, 10, 11, 12 vents, mixed in. Plus, I fish 4 opens. So.
And plus, you don't just show up there on Saturday morning. I mean, you fish all the way.
No, you have to do your homework. You got to go in advance, before our 20-day off-limit period, scout it out, and then you get a 3-day practice period. So you're gone about a week. I put about 50,000 miles on the Tundra this year. So,
are you serious?
Yes, it's a lot of driving. You're a full-time truck driver, part-time fisherman when you get there.
I like that. I wish we'd you got your truck parked outside. I wish we'd take a picture of it. You got a good wrap on it and everything. But speaking of pictures, let's start with this one right here. Tell us about this one. What about this picture right here?
Yeah, actually, I've gotten my captain's license, and I'm doing a little bit of guiding in the off season. This was a trip I had at Seminole a few months back.
Goodness gracious, there's some big fish in Lake Seminole.
There are, and it's really on fire right now. I mean, you can go anywhere on the lake and catch them. They're really shallow. They're 5 foot or less, and an easy bait to throw and catch them is a rattle trap or a rattling bait, any kind of rattling bait.
Yeah.
I brought a couple Bagleys to show you.
We're going to talk about bait. The last thing we're going to talk about how you can catch those big bass, just like Drew does. What about this one right here? That same Lake Seminole?
That was actually this past week, Lake Seminole. I was actually just kind of scouting around for a couple guide trips I had this past week, and they were biting good again, obviously. I actually caught those 2 on back-to-back casts. That's an 8 and a 5 something.
On back-to-back casts?
Back-to-back casts. They're schooled up really tight right now, and a lot of that has to do with cold weather. People think cold weather is negative for fishing, when actually it's not. If you look back at some of the weights like last weekend at Apalachicola River, that cold weather really bunches them up and makes them easier to catch, those big fish like that.
That's one of those guys go out with a motorcycle helmet and they're all wrapped up because they know those bass fishermen.
Right. Yeah.
We talked about they had a tournament there and it's like 26 pounds, 25 pounds, 5 fish. That's pretty good, isn't it?
When you have a mild winter like we have in the last couple of years, you almost get a filtering effect, and fish kind of filter in whenever they want to spawn. Here, they don't really have a choice. Whenever it warms up, they're all going to make a hard push to spawn, and that's the reason why they're ganged up like that right now.
Now, when will the spawning season hit full swing?
Well, it's all according to weather. They just want that water temperature right. It's usually going to be on the moon, and time of year, obviously, but mostly on water. The water temperature is the biggest factor for me. When it gets around 60, you better be up there shallow looking because they're going to be close.
They're going to be getting close and all. I know, and bass fishermen are so good about catching and releasing and taking care of the fish. And they're the first group of outdoorsmen to ever do anything like that.
Yeah, it used to be, everything was weighed in on a stringer, you killed them, and that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
But now people are getting, more educated on conservation, and the catch and release programs have really helped out, and it's very evident in our fisheries.
Yeah. Okay, we got to, let's see, we're going to show a couple more pictures. What about this one right here?
That was actually at Lake Talquin this past week. I had a little trip up there, and we actually caught them really well.
Wow.
We started out in the lake fishing, wood cover with a crankbait. We were catching them on a Bagley DB1 crankbait, any kind of horizontal wood cover. If it was 10, 12 foot or shallower, it had a fish on it.
Okay.
And then we kind of run from a rainstorm. That was the day that the weather was moving in, and we went up the river, and first laydown I came to up there, I caught that one. It was about a 7.5 pounder.
Wow, wow, that's nice. We're gonna talk about hunting in a minute, but we just get these bass pictures. And what about this right here?
That's my my signature finesse jig.
Drew Benton finesse jig. You got a bait named after him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's definitely a dream of mine to be able to work with companies and design baits to catch fish.
You got to get us some of these so we can get them out to the people and all.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
That'd be cool. And here you are.
That's the Angler of the Year trophy. It's not much to it, and but I think don't quote me on this, but I think I'm the only one to ever win it in both circuits.
Oh, that's something. I believe you. That's cool. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sitting here with Drew Benton, BASS angler and former Rookie of the Year for only one for two different leagues.
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty strong. Let's add a couple of names before we get back to Drew. How about Allie Brown up at Blue Creek? Boo Morris at Hosford, Gabby Morris from Hosford, and Rhonda Morris, the Morris family up there at Hosford. And how about Rich
Brown Jr.?
Rich Brown, the Brown family. Yeah, Brown and Jr. ran together. That Blue Creek, all the Brown family up there at Blue Creek. All right, now, listen, I know a true outdoorsman just enjoys all kind of stuff, but you take it to the next level when it comes to hunting. You have a passion. You told me before the show, if you could make a living off hunting, you'd probably do that.
I would. You know, that's something I'm extremely passionate about. You know, that's where it all started, to be honest with you. You know, tagging along with my dad and hunting and fishing, or hunting mostly, and you know, that's just what I'm passionate about, chasing whitetails. And, you know, we're not necessarily per se in the best state for it, but it's still a lot of fun.
Well, I see the pictures you put on, and you have taken some nice bucks. Let's start, this one right here. Tell us about this. That's a nice buck.
Yeah, that's actually a public land Florida deer, believe it or not. It, you know, it was one of those cold, windy days where a lot of people probably wouldn't even go. And to be honest with you, when I was sitting there for about an hour, I was wishing I wouldn't have went. I was about to freeze to death. I took my dad and I put him in a place that what I thought was the best area, and I wore waders, and because I had to cross a little branch to get where I wanted to go, and it wasn't enough clothes, to say the least. So I got up and I was just easing around, you know, moving really slow, about 200 yards. It took me about 2 hours to move 200 yards, and actually slipped up in a bedding area, and that deer had just got up and was feeding around, and slipped up on him.
Wow, that's nice. But what about this one?
That one, another one, public land deer.
That's a nice shot, too.
Yeah, me and my buddy Fred Myers went up there.
Fred Myers?
Yeah.
Well, about you know Fred, the redfish man.
Yeah, we get after him on the public land pretty hard. It's a blast. It's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding when you get in there. You're not hunting over bait, you're not hunting over food or anything. You're hunting over natural trails, scouting, you know, homework, all that comes into play, and that's what's so rewarding about it.
Yeah,
So
that is so good. I know, and there's Fred right there.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. We got two of the most successful fishermen, one in bass and one in redfish, and y'all won a lot of tournaments put together in the two respective. But Fred enjoys outdoors a lot.
He does. Him and his son Carter, and you know, I had the opportunity to take Carter a couple years back, and he killed his biggest deer, big old 12 points, like 175 pounds on a little piece of property that we had, and he's ate up with it too, boy. It's definitely fun. That just shows you how big of a body that deer was compared to me. You know, I'm not tiny. I'm about 180 pounds, and that deer almost dwarfs me.
How much that deer weigh?
He was about 150 pounds dressed, so you figure about, you know, 200 probably.
Well, here's the thing right here. This is a classic picture right here. I wanted to show it because we were talking on the show yesterday. When you do take a buck, you got to know how you're gonna get them out of there.
Yeah.
And way back in the woods, it is a challenge.
It is. You know, one of the things I've found is a dead sled. It's a big old thick piece of plastic that you put the deer on, and it folds up over them, and you can pull them out way easier. A cart or something just doesn't work for terrain that we hunt, that swamp and all the cypress knees and everything. And of course, you know, you got to have a canoe or a boat if you're hunting around water.
And you do enjoy getting back in the swamp and hunting and back in the area.
I do. It's easier to slip around in that backwater, quiet, scent-free, things like that. But a lot of times, you know, it's just a lot of walking.
A lot of walking. I grew up doing swamp hunting off the old clock in Tulogia, and I just remember that your feet getting stuck in the mud, and, you know, it's constantly always just this challenge, which I loved that, you know. When you're a kid, that's fun.
Yeah, funny little story about Fred. He's only fell in the water about 3 times this year.
You got to promise me that you're going to take a picture next time.
I tried to catch it on video. We were crossing a tree the other day across the creek. He was over there videoing, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I hope you sink up to your hat." But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's a great picture there. Okay, we've shown that, and one thing too on your bucks and all. You hunt a different terrain. I mean, all the way from the swamps up to the big thick woods and all. I mean,
yeah, it's all according on. To me, the big thing is food. You know, either I'm trying to find where a crop field that they're feeding on, you know, close to that land, or, you know, natural forage. You know, your oaks, your, you know, whatever natural forage you have in that area, your acorns, anything. That's the big key. So a lot of it's, you know, ridges, saddles, any kind of travel point, pinch point, you know, in between those food places.
Well, what's cool also now is that You hunt both river systems. You hunt, like I said, not just the farmland and all, but you'll do a lot of stalking, sort of zigzagging back and forth with the winds blowing.
It's hard to do here because our woods
hard.
are so thick. But anytime the wind is really kicking and you got it in your favor, you can slip up on them time to time. It's very rare, but there is that opportunity.
Yep, that's right. We're going to take our final break and come back with Drew with some fishing tips. All right, welcome back with Drew Benton. We're glad you're with us today. Let's look at our fishing game times brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers. Looking on your screen there, there's only one time today, 12:07 to 2:07, and that is, we're going to talk about fishing time in a second. Also, I want to remind you, this weekend is a youth duck hunt. FWC has it on announcement. It's a youth duck hunt this weekend. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but you can take a duck hunting. The season's over for grown-ups, but you can take a youth this weekend anywhere in the state of Florida. So. Drew, talk about real quick about times and all. Sometimes you fish all day, all week. How do you feel about certain times of the day that they bite? Do you go through that?
Yeah, it's obvious that there's certain windows that they bite better. You know, in a tournament, obviously, I can't pick and choose when I want to fish. So you've got to, you know, key in on their reaction a lot of the times when they're not feeding. But whenever they're feeding, it's pretty easy. You get a bait near them and they're going to eat. But yeah, it's obvious that there's windows and times that they feed best in.
And what do you think causes that?
It's got to be the moon. You know, we've always heard it's the moon, and in my opinion, it's got to be that.
Yeah, it's been passed down generation after generation. You got to know what that moon's doing. Like now we're out of full moon phase, and now we got a time here in the middle of the day, which they're going to feed during the full moon at night, then they're going to feed later. So I've always had the same way. Deer do the same.
Matter
thing.
of fact, the picture of the two big fish I caught at Seminole, when I caught them, I looked up and that moon was about 45 degrees.
Yep.
You know, it was up, and you know, I've always heard, you know, when it's straight overhead or, you know, right underfoot's when they bite the best, and it was getting up there, you know, so, you know, it has to be affected by that.
And the old timers did it without computers and apps and all that, didn't they?
They did.
Okay, now, we got your season about to kick off and all. Hey, what's your game plan? Let's talk about baits first. What are some good baits and all?
You know, you can't go wrong this time of year with any kind of crankbait. A lipless crankbait is super easy to fish. Anybody can fish it. Two colors that are great this time of year are a red crawfish or brown crawfish pattern, or this shad pattern here. You can't go wrong with either of those. You can fish them around grass. They're kind of hard to fish around wood, but like Lake Seminole right now, if you get in that 5 to 3 foot range and throw this bait, you're going to catch fish.
Okay.
It's just there's just so many fish up there shallow right now. It's a blast to fish, and anybody can fish, whether you're new to it. You know, me, like I fished all my life. It's a bait that anybody can fish and catch fish on.
Okay.
This is a Bagley rattling bait. They're available in a deep version and a shallow version. So obviously I throw the shallow one. And it weighs the same and it's the same size. It's just weighted differently so it stays up in the water column, stays out of that grass. You know, that shallower grass, it's hard to rip it out of on this deeper one. You go to the shallow one and it's easier to pull through the grass.
Very good, very good. You'll fish that in every tournament, you probably?
I don't know about every tournament, but this first one, it doesn't have grass, but it has a lot of those shallow flats, pockets in the back, and you'll be fan casting this around quite a bit.
That's Lake Martin?
Yeah, Lake Martin next week's where we get kicked off for the 2018 season. I'm super excited about it. I've been in the garage getting out tackle ready and painting up baits and everything, getting ready for that event. I'm excited about it. But as far as, fishing right now here around the Panhandle, you cannot go wrong with Lake Seminole or Apalachicola River. They're both on fire. I don't know if you heard, but last week there was a tournament weighed in 28 pounds.
We were talking about that.
And I think, just like we talked about, it's this cold weather that's got those big fish staged up and stacked up, grouped up together, and that's what makes them easy targets. Same scenario with Seminole. I haven't fished Apalachicola River, but this year at Seminole, last week was my first time there this year, and everywhere I went I caught fish, but I only found them schooled up maybe in 3 places, but it was every cast for 10 minutes. It was
that's
a lot
exciting,
of fun.
isn't it?
It is. And they're grouped up by size too. A lot of times if you find, those 2 and 3 pounders, they're all going to be 2 and 3 pounders. But if you ever find them grouped up big, they're all going to be big, and that's where it gets fun.
And that's how they got a big weight, 26, 28 pounds right in there.
Yeah.
That's cool. What are some other fishing tips in general that you would give to folks if they're going to be bass fishing?
You know, I get asked a lot, you know, how do you learn so much? Or you can read, you can study on the internet, but there's no substitute for time on the water.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is, you know, and even me now, I have to spend time on the water. People think I just go to these tournaments and compete. Well, no, I need to come home and fish. And, you know, whenever you're on the water all the time, you're constantly thinking. And you're constantly thinking, where's the next bite going to come from? Where's the, you know, what adjustments do I need to make for this weather system? You know, this condition, what bait do I need to throw to get more bites or whatever? And that in itself, just the time on the water and the exposure to the element and the exposure to the conditions makes you a better angler.
Yeah.
Not, you can't read it in a book, you can't study, you can't watch it on TV and learn from it. You can learn a lot, but until you actually get out there and put your hands on it, that's where you do your most learning. So I know it sounds, you know, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go every day, and you know, I'm blessed to have that opportunity, but it definitely makes you a better angler the more you can be out there.
Well put, well said right there, because you see that over and over again locally, like Bobby Smith, who's fished, you know, done so well over the years. And you know, I know a lot of us work full time. A lot of y'all work full time. I'm retired now, but you got to go on weekends and every time you get a chance.
Yep, and it's like this weekend. I had a guide trip. It was in the rain. It rained every day, and every minute rather of the day. And you know, I was a young guy and his dad, and they were like, you know, we apologize for getting you out here in the rain. And I said, no, this is part of it. You know, this is, eventually he wanted to be a tournament fisherman, and eventually you're going to have to compete in that, and you're going to need to know what to do.
Real quick, are you doing guide service during off season?
Yeah,
how can people get a hold of you?
I actually just got my guide's license, 6-pack, and you can get a hold of me on my website, drewbentonfishing.com, or my social media. My handle is drewbentonfishing.
Yeah, and y'all, you know, you want to, if you're serious about bass fishing, this is the man you need to go with. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy taking people out and teaching them, and you know, the few things that I've picked up along the way, I enjoy helping others catch fish just as much as I enjoy catching fish. So
that sounds great. Well, Drew, thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Coach. Enjoyed it.
And good luck to you this season. We'll be keeping up with you. I'll keep you all informed on how Drew's doing, and I'll show you some pictures every now and then. But good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
All right, buddy. I always want to tell you how much we appreciate you watching Panhandle Outdoors. We do appreciate the viewership. I always ask you to do something good for your fellow man today. Enjoy the great outdoors, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.